Every summer, the heart of the Great Lakes is witness to an extraordinary cultural phenomenon. A bold international musical event where the world's most celebrated artists gather to perform chamber music. Their passion and artistry move us to collectively experience the fullest range and depth of emotion with every crescendo, turn of the page, and stroke of the bow. Chamber music at its best, fresh, dynamic, soul-stirring. The Great Lakes Chamber Music Festival, where great music comes to play.
This morning, we bring you the final discussion and performance by our Shouse ensembles. We've had a wonderful week with the Callisto Quartet, the Ralston Quartet, the Vivalas Quartet, and this morning we welcome our fourth group, the Viano String Quartet. My name is Philip Setzer. I'm the director of the Shouse Institute. And I just want to say a couple of words about how important this institute has been and continues to be. For 2 decades, we've been able to invite young groups to come to Detroit to join the Great Lakes Chamber Music Festival. And what's interesting about the Shouse Institute is that, yes, it is an educational part of the festival, but one of the aspects, and perhaps the most important aspect of why this is so special, is that these groups not only receive coaching, but they perform on their own concerts and sometimes on the pre-concerts, often on the pre-concerts, but they are also interwoven into the fabric of the whole festival. And I think this is really unusual and an extraordinary opportunity for these groups. Today, I am pleased to present the Viano String Quartet. The Viano shared first prize at the 2019 Banff competition. I was on the jury of that, and I can tell you that they are a wonderful young group. Sadly, their career has been on hold right at the beginning because of the pandemic, but they are together and looking forward to a bright future. And I have every reason to believe that their future is very bright indeed. So please welcome the Viano String Quartet. Tell me what you've been doing. I mean, what did you do before August 1st? I mean, obviously you're in touch with each other, and did you do any recordings or any playing virtually, or you were still getting some coachings virtually, or how did it all work? What was your life like?
Oh, go ahead. I think we had a nice break from each other.
Yeah.
I think we each had plenty of time to practice on our own for the first time since we have been together, which was kind of nice. I mean, it was a long time, so being back together is a real treat. And playing those first few notes together was very special.
Yeah.
But for me, I found it really nice to have some time to practice.
Yeah. That to the other group for the first 2 weeks, or first 2 months, I really didn't do any playing. I kept thinking I was going to do all this playing and practicing and things that I hadn't practiced, like concertos, and somehow the violin stayed over there, and I didn't feel like playing. And I've heard this, a lot of people went through this, or either that or they just dove in. I remember talking to Jamie Laredo, and he said, it's been great for me. I've been practicing Bach and all this, and all that did was make me feel more guilty about the fact that I wasn't, and then less inclined to it. but finally I did get back, and it was good. But yeah, I think it's good to have a little bit of a break. I mean, just the amount of running around that I've been doing for the last 40 years, it was good. It was good to be home, but then just worrying about everything, of course. So I mean, it's hard for you guys though, having just won the Banff competition, and then things start to pick up for the group, and then bam, you know, you're hit with this. So that's got to be difficult, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty heartbreaking to see all of the concerts just kind of evaporate.
Right.
Some of them have been just canceled, and
Yeah.
some of them are postponed. So
Yeah.
it does suck.
Well, I hope that it, you know, what I can tell you from Taiwan is that people were so hungry to hear live music, because, you know, things were shut down there for a long time too, and they only started doing concerts again, I think, in mid-June. But they had shut things down earlier. They shut things down like in February, early February. But the crowd, when I walked out on stage the first time for the first concert, even before we bowed, just walking out on the stage, hearing the warmth from the audience just welcoming us, I was in tears before I even got on stage, to the middle of the stage, you know, because, and then people are just thanking us for coming there, you know, because we were the first non-Taiwanese to be performing there. It wasn't the quartet, it was a group of us. But you know, they were so appreciative of, and I was saying, no, we should thank you, because it's such an opportunity for us. But anyway, when we do get back, whenever that will be, to performing for people, all of us, I think it's going to be really powerful and moving, because people are, you know, yeah, we're getting used to doing things virtually, but people need to hear music live, and they need to be with other people, and as soon as it's safe, it's going to be, I think there's no question that classical music and chamber music will continue, and I think flourish, because I think it's going to be more difficult for the big ensembles to get back. I think we can get back safely before other people can, at least in a modified way. But you notice in Taiwan, all of the audience had masks on. I don't know if you saw the photos, but everybody, it's a law, it's a national law that to go to any kind of, to be in any kind of performance, or in a hall, or even in a building, you have to wear a mask. Some not outdoors there now. I'd say about half the people still wear masks outdoors, even in the tremendous heat there, because it's like high 90s every day there. But so in terms of individually, have you all been, I mean, how have you been emotionally, just sort of dealing with this individually, if you don't mind my asking? Is it difficult? I know it's been difficult for me personally, just you know, just sort of fighting through periods of anxiety, and just, you know, feeling, as Lucy said, really sad. But you seem, are you dealing now you're in a happier place because you're back together, but was it difficult individually as you went through it?
Yeah, I think each day it wasn't very easy, as you said. I think we all tried to find some way of kind of busying ourselves, or sort of distracting ourselves from, I guess you could say, the reality of what's going on. So I spent a lot of time, I did spend a lot of time cooking, and I had a lot of time with my family. Yeah, I learned a whole bunch of new recipes. It was really good.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a very cathartic to cook. It was like something creative, and
I baked some meat pies, and learned a whole bunch of things. I learned how to make dough. Yeah, I got a lot better at making dough. Also trying to pick up on some new skills. We learned a bit of, you know, video editing and audio engineering and things like that, which I figured would be helpful.
So did you do that as a group? Did you do any layering kind of recording, or?
I think we tried at some point, and it wasn't very easy.
It's not
the same as playing together, but we did try.
Yeah, it is difficult, but it's a good thing to at least get some knowledge of, even in terms of teaching later, like being able to help students do that. And we just don't know how long this is going to go on. It's, I mean, today I looked at the news and it's not getting any better, right
Yeah.
now. That's distressing. But
Oh yeah. I also wanted to mention that I think it was way back in June or May. 8 of us, so us and the Calidor Quartet, we did a virtual Mendelssohn octet, and that was put together and produced by a team at Colburn and a director named Hamid, and the film was premiered a couple of weeks ago.
oh, wonderful.
That was really fun, and we had no idea that it would be, because each of us recorded in our homes in front of like a blank wall. We all had instructions, very detailed instructions about how each of the videos should have been done, but we had no idea that it would look so effective.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen that. I'm sorry, I'll have to check it out. Can you send me a link to that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and maybe send it to the festival, because I think people would love to see it.
Okay.
To Chloe.
Yeah.
That's great. So you did that. We did a recording way back when we did the Mendelssohn Octet. We recorded it with ourselves, but it was
Right.
4 and 4. It was before all, and actually Dahong Situ, who was our recording producer, sort of developed an application to do that. So, it was at the beginning of that, but it was fun. We had to sort of map out how we were going to do it. And we had to record one layer first with 4 of us and then edit that. And then it was sort of it was like a very high end video game, sort of playing and trying to figure out, but trying to make it musical, right? But well, great. No, that's great that you did that with Calidor, because they're wonderful. Yeah, and also from Colburn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aidan, how were your spirits during all this, and what were you doing with your time?
So I wound up a bit stranded in Phoenix with my mother and grandmother there, and I don't know, a lot of family time, a lot of hiking. I think the hardest part about all of this for me has been the uncertainty of like not knowing when things were going to happen, not knowing when we were going to get back together, not knowing how to plan for the future.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's the uncertainty is. I just would wake up every morning and just feel this. I'd sort of wake up and feel okay, and then this anxiety would just kind of come down on me, like worrying about what's going to happen. But I think if you can do something like doing the Mendelssohn Octet, I'm sure was a very positive thing for all of you and the Calidor, and even just talking about plans instead of. I mean, so much of the talk for all of us, has been when to reschedule things, or is this actually going to happen? And then talking about the cancellation of it, and it's just every day hearing news like that. It's depressing. But and Tate, you've been practicing. That's good.
Practicing and brewing a lot of coffee. I got really into making pour over coffee, so
Right. So you froze before over your coffee, so we were kidding about that. I think Hal was saying that you could have frozen like drinking a coffee because you like coffee so much.
Exactly. It's totally plausible.
I think the energy that you were putting out when you were drinking your coffee is what made you freeze on Zoom. It was just
I must have shocked the computer or something.
Much couldn't take it. Yeah. And Lucy, what have you been up to?
Also practicing.
Yeah.
I've been watching, admittedly, a lot of TV shows. I watched Breaking Bad, which is really, really good. I had no idea.
That is a great show. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never really gotten much into Netflix before, and it's a dangerous place, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's my wife and I have watched a lot of things during this time too. But there's also been a lot of wonderful legendary performances that have been on YouTube and also on television to see a lot of theater and my wife is an actress, so we've watched some of the things from Royal Shakespeare, things like that. So, but as I said, we just want to go to the theater, we want to go to concerts, we want to play concerts. We're performers. We're not computer performers, and also just for the better part of 6 months, I wasn't in the same room with anybody other than my wife, and then for a couple of weeks with our daughter and her fiance who came to visit. And other than that, we're just isolated, and I'm sure you're feeling that way too. And some of our students at Stony Brook were really isolated by themselves, without a roommate even, and we were trying to keep in touch with them. But I was very worried about them just emotionally, dealing with that. For a few weeks, okay, but months, it's really difficult. So you've just been back together on August 1st and been able to rehearse and actually record something, which we're going to hear today. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear and just a little bit about the piece itself. Go ahead. Anybody?
We're gonna
jump in.
Oh man.
We've recorded the Mendelssohn F minor quartet, and this was the first piece we actually ever played together when we were formed as a quartet. Back in 2015, we were assigned the first movement to play in chamber form at the end of the semester for the student body. And it was a fun project for us, and I think that first movement took us pretty much the whole semester to get it to a good level. But that performance was a very memorable one, and since then we've been wanting to finish the work. So this has been our moment to go back and do the whole work.
Wonderful. Well, any thoughts you have? Want to tell us a little bit about the context of the piece? That Mendelssohn's life at this point, and what he was writing about.
Yeah, it's a very stormy piece, and it's pretty different from his other quartets we've noticed. His sister just passed away,
right,
and that was a huge. Yeah, he was very close with his sister, so that was very a huge blow to his life. And yeah, there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of turmoil, it's very dark compared to all his other pieces. Like we've also played the Opus 44 number 3 in E flat, and that one's full of joy, and it couldn't be more different.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the last summer of his life, right? He died in the fall. I think he never really completely got over the sudden death of his sister, and the fact that, well, her name was Fanny, right? And the fact that it's in F minor, I don't think is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think is a coincidence. But also that beautiful slow movement is. I've always thought of it as kind of an elegy, for her. He basically went away that summer to try to get himself, healthy again, to go back to conducting. He canceled everything, and the only piece that he really completed in the summer was this F minor. And he started another quartet. There's 2 movements of that, I think, that survived in the fall, but in the summer, this is what he did. And I think you're right. I think a lot of it is just sort of purging this frustration and just deep grief that he felt. It's an angry piece. You don't really associate Mendelssohn with anger. If we've all lost people who are close to us, and there is definitely, sure, there's sadness, but there's also a feeling of anger, like why did they have to leave at this point, or why did or anger at God or whoever,
Yeah.
whoever made this happen, So yeah, it's an unusual piece in that way. Well, let's listen to your performance of the Mendelssohn F minor. It's Opus 80 and it's 4 movements, and then we'll talk about it after we listen. Okay. Oh, that was great. I mean, it's so great to hear you back together again, and not in four different places trying to make it seem like a quartet. You know, there you are, really together and really playing wonderfully. And you know, I have to say, when I was on the jury in Banff, when you guys won or co-won with the Merman Quartet, and it was a great thrill to hear you there. And I know it must be difficult to have won that competition and all of these concerts that were set up for you, and having a lot of them postponed or canceled. But all I can say to you is that hearing you play that way and knowing how good the quartet is and how good you are, wonderful you are individually, just be patient, and it'll come back, and you'll be able to get back to doing what you're supposed to do. But what have you done just for fun, other than cooking? Have the four of you done anything together, just being together in the last couple of weeks? Just having a meal together must be really wonderful to do, just even that, right?
Yeah, it's been really nice to be with each other again. I had no idea that we'd be apart for so long. To be honest, we haven't had much time to really relax in the last couple of days since we've been rehearsing, because we've had several projects to prepare, and we've been trying to make the most of the rehearsal time. But we giggle, we make jokes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes. We had a really nice moment in rehearsal yesterday evening, where we just were all in tears laughing because something happened, and it was really funny. There's moments like that we missed.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure I've said this in a million interviews, but the one thing that I think that's kept the Emerson Quartet going for all these years, and I think for any group it's really important, or any relationship really, is the sense of humor. And it's been hard lately to laugh, but it's such a healthy thing to do, and to laugh as a group, I think is really important. And we all take the music very seriously, but I think it's good not to take ourselves too seriously. And kidding each other, teasing each other is a big part of survival, I think. And when I see groups that are like so serious, I think they're not going to make it. And usually that's true. So yeah, you have to always take the music seriously, and what you're doing, you're playing seriously, but don't take each other too seriously, right? Or yourselves too seriously. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But well, so I really look forward to our all being together. I hope that it will be safe by next June. I think everybody's looking toward that, and hoping that we'll be able to do that. All right. Well, listen, take care, all of you, and we'll be in touch. Thank you for spending time with all of us, with the Callisto Quartet, the Ralston Quartet, Vivalas, and Viano quartets. But the festival isn't over yet. Tonight we have the outdoor in-person presentation of Sela, The Breath of the World by John Luther Adams, with 32 musicians from the Detroit Chamber Winds and Strings filling the quad at Cranbrook in Bloomfield Hills. And tomorrow, join Festival Artistic Director Paul Watkins for The Singing Will Never Be Done, our closing concert of this virtual Great Lakes Chamber Music Festival at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You won't want to miss this program, with its impressive lineup of celebrated artists: Shai Wasner, pianist; Tessa Lark, violinist; Paul Watkins, of course, cellist; Michael Thurber, double bassist; Christine Gerke, soprano; and the Brentano String Quartet, with Mark Steinberg, Serena Kanan, Misha Amory, and Nina Lee. So I hope that you've enjoyed this week, meeting some of the Shouse groups, and the conversations and performances, and all the wonderful virtual concerts that you've heard. I feel very sad that we weren't able to all be in Detroit with you in person, but we've done our best to bring something hopefully meaningful and enjoyable to all of you. Please be safe.